He is known as a DJ and a record producer, building a following that has made him renowned in the hospitality industry as one of the UK's top DJs. From the West End to hosting massive events in Marbella, he brings the atmosphere that all venues desired. He didn't stop there. He launched his own record label and produced 9 No.1 mixed compilations with Ministry of Sound and Sony. Today, we're joined by the main man himself, Colin Francis, on the Speakeasy Podcast. I would say he's also a good friend of ours. And with me, I've known him in the West End scene as being the guy. Like, if you're in a club night, Colin. If you want to do a concert, Colin. You want a good DJ set, anything you need, Colin. And I would like to go back to when you actually started as a DJ and as you actually built yourself up to what you are now. So let's go way back. Let's go back to the beginning when, you start touching your hands on them decks of yours.
Wow. Okay, well, I'd say my first sort of interaction with records and with music was really through my uncle, Gregory. Yeah. He was my main introduction to music. He was my main introduction to decks, even though at the time he only had one 12-inch deck, which was a Techniques with a pitch control, which you can adjust the tempo, and then one which was just 33 and 45.
Yeah.
So I used to have to just put one song on one deck and then get another song and try and mix it with the variable tempo and pitch slider. So yeah, it was really through that, and his love for music. He had a huge record collection, so I used to always, after school, I would go and put the songs on before he got back from work.
Yeah,
had to sneak like where the records were, because back then he knew exactly where every song was.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't put back immaculately, he'd be like, "Who's been playing my?"
Yeah.
So it was really through that, and then kind of I then got this love and just passion for just mixing two songs and just creating a whole new vibe when you created putting two songs together and what that would create for a feeling. It's like imagine having one deck being red and one deck being yellow, and I was intrigued as to what kind of orange I was going to make.
Yeah.
That's basically what it was for me. So I would play around with different sounds and different melodies, and yeah, it was just fascinating for me. So then from there, I ended up getting my own decks eventually.
Yeah.
And then I was just there practicing. I used to practice, still do practice pretty much every day. And then I went on to, I used to go around a friend of mine, Joe Long, one of my best mates from young. We used to go around each other's houses and we used to just like have a little mix up with each other. And then we started doing a thing called the Hit Squad, where it was me and him together DJing, and we used to put on our own little events. And then we finally kind of got our break playing at Bar Rumba.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. With pay homage to man like Ronnie Harrell, Trevor Nelson.
Yeah.
They were running this night every Friday called Cat Club.
Okay.
So yeah, basically got like our residency, but I was just the feeling DJ. So early doors or last set. And but what I used to do was be there from the get-go and be there right to the end, because I wanted to watch and learn everything from how you built the night up to when the main spot comes in, what's the DJs playing then. And then there was a couple of times where like the main DJ, for whatever reason, couldn't make it. So then I'm there, so I've just got to kind of fill in. But because I was a student of the game, I was watching everything what was going on. So I kind of knew where I needed to go. But the main thing was record collecting at them times, whether you was warm-up DJ or not, you're collecting everything.
Yeah.
From warm-up to the bangers, everything.
Yeah.
So I had it all in the artillery, but I just couldn't draw for it. Because you know, one thing with DJing, you've got to have etiquette and you've got to know your place. You've got to know about the longevity of the night.
Yeah.
You've got to know that you've got to pace it. So you can't go and play all the bangers in the early part of the night.
Yeah. There's no point.
No.
I've seen DJs do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not only going to upset the forthcoming DJs, but you're disrupting the vibe of the night because people then say, oh, but he's played that already and he's played this or whatever. And you want to build up that anticipation so when it does drop, the euphoria and the excitement for it is even more because they're like, I've been waiting for this song all night.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much kind of where it really, really started for me. That was the initial passion, you know?
And then from then, did you start doing your own events or did you start to get more gigs through other clubs? Yeah,
no, at that point, I was way off doing my own gigs.
Okay.
You know? Like when I say way off, it was like we would, as Hit Squad, we would maybe put on the odd show every now and again, but it was nothing crazy. It was just for friends and family kind of thing. It wasn't like a major money-making thing or anything.
No.
It was like, we've been practicing in our bedrooms. Like, let's just have a little bit of an audience and see what we could do.
Of course.
But no, then Joey kind of stopped with the DJ and then I carried on as just myself.
Yeah.
And then really from there, I just started to want to just be out DJing now. I just wanted to just be out as many venues as I could, just playing and getting that experience. I mean, if you was a boxer, you'd call it like wanting to get as many rounds under your belt. Yeah. So, you know, I just wanted to get as many DJ hours under my belt. Yeah. So I was just out playing wherever I could, here, there, you know, whatever set it was. And at that time, West End was quite cliquey, you know. So then we moved into an era where people like Scintillate and London Parties, etc., was pretty much having...
They conquered.
Yeah. They kind of had, you know, the West End on lock. Yeah. And if you really wasn't part of that...
Yeah, you're missing out.
You wasn't really in the mix, so to speak. So...
Because London Parties did more of like the Mayfair clubs in a way, and Scintillate did the commercial clubs, would you say?
No, I think they done a bit of everything, really. Wow, I mean, they was doing a lot of the West End.
Nice.
They were also doing parties like out in Chelsea and Kensington and these sort of things as well. Yeah. So, you know, they were a Fulham-based company. So, big up Gary and Glenn. You know, I've got to give props for them because, you know, they were very integral in the early parts of my career.
Wicked.
You know, so I actually got introduced to them through the late, great DJ Swing, who was like a mentor brother to me. You know, so it was him who got me onto that circuit. And yeah, just like really sort of, at that point, I realized I could actually do this as a career.
Wow.
You know, and I could actually do this as a full-time occupancy.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's like, it wasn't like you had a part-time job basically and used to do,
when I first started, totally. Like, you know, it was a hard graft DJing back then, you know, and let's face it, like when you're up and coming DJ, you're not commanding no big monies. You're just getting paid what you can get paid, and that's it. And you're happy for that. Listen, some nights it was just good enough money to get a bagel home, and that was it. You know, like real talk.
Wow.
You know, it wasn't crazy money at all when you first started, but that's not what ever, and still now, it's not what the passion is. The drive is wanting to go and do the best job possible. Yeah. You know, I'm just blessed that I'm able to do it in front of thousands now, you know, and in some of the most incredible venues around the world. But initially, it wasn't that.
No. And when from Scintillate, where did you go from there?
Right. So basically, from Scintillate, we went on to start doing our own parties, and that was I was DJing in the West End, like Alto,
Yeah.
Aura, what else was we doing? Funky Buddha.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of stuff with J-Funk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big up Jermaine.
Yeah.
And also Mark Wright as well. We was doing unique parties together.
Yeah.
Jack Tweed as well. So yeah, and then we also had the likes of kind of like it was Kashi, who was doing Funky Buddha Obsessions on the Tuesdays. Yeah. And then again, I just started building reputation through there. And the Tuesdays and Wednesdays was almost like a Friday and Saturday night.
Because you had Tuesday Funky.
That's right. Wednesdays Alto. Yeah.
And then it was Saturdays.
Saturdays was like, to be fair, Saturdays it was
basically Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays were the main ones.
Yeah.
Saturdays we started doing a place which was called Runway.
Yes.
You remember Runway?
Mike L's place.
Mike L's, yeah. So we started doing Runway on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But, you know, with the earlier days, I was playing Monday to Sunday.
Yeah.
Because there was parties going on
every day.
Every single day.
Yeah. And that's what West End was at its peak.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
People were out every single night.
Yeah.
You were seeing the same faces
out
every single night.
Yeah.
You know, but the scene, you know, it was thriving back then.
Yeah.
I think during them times, the 2010s, etc.
Yeah.
Was some of the best years, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
Yeah, the West End, definitely. And just the clubbing in general.
Yeah.
I felt like everyone was always out. There was like an entourage of people, entourage of DJs, entourage of promoters, and everyone was out.
Yeah. And it was a community.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a community. It was a real community. You know, even though we were all striving to do our own events, our own parties, our own DJ, we still was a community and we still respected each other's hustles.
Yeah. And we respected the fact that this guy's doing this guy's doing that. Everyone had their own different angle.
Yeah.
And no one was like fighting over crowd because everyone was just out.
Yeah.
And I think that's what also, as like you saw as a DJ, it's like, right, this guy's joining this table, this and so on.
Yeah.
So like, where would you say, like, how did you get to know like J-Funk, Mark Wright? Would you say that they built up for you to go, all right, I'm going to go this direction? Or how did you?
Oh man, where did we buck up? I think it might have been initially it might have been at Mayfair Club.
Maybe. Oh wow, on them Saturdays.
Yeah, on the Saturdays. Might have been through there. I can't really fully remember now.
No.
It's a long time ago.
Was Mark Wright on Towie or was he left Towie?
No, Mark hadn't been on Towie at that point.
Oh wow.
This was prior to Towie.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was a good promoter, wasn't he? Yeah.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he brought all of the Essex crowd. Do you know what I mean?
Footballers, everyone knew as well, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, so this was prior to you know, Towie days.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but good times, you know. I remember, you know, us talking about what do we think the impact of the show is going to do to like our events.
Yeah.
And I remember there was the first event what we went and done at in Marbella.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Marbella.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's start from, from Mark Wright.
Yeah.
How do you meet each other?
Yeah.
Talk just before you go Marbella.
Okay. So at that point, we was just doing, as I say, the West End parties.
Yeah.
We was doing things like Alto.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday, which was almost like religious. Every Wednesday, everybody would come.
I remember going to one of them.
Listen, I mean,
tables all gone. It was crazy.
Tables gone.
Yeah.
That was when really the table culture was there, but at that point it went to another level because then you started really understanding the power of what these big spenders were doing. Yeah. And what that brought with that. Yeah. In terms of, you know, the clientele. Yeah. The atmosphere. And the social impact as well. The social impact. Because these table guys are investors really as well. Totally. They're invested in what your next move is. Totally. And they build in your brand. Yeah. Definitely. And, you know, it's like you realize that these people were really setting the tone for where we are now.
Yeah.
And we would probably call them influencers now.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we would do, you know, we call them influence, but these guys and girls were setting the tone.
Mm-hmm.
And it became quite aspirational because as a clubber, you be standing at the bar and you'll think, them guys at the table are having way too much fun.
Yeah.
We need to think about getting a table next time.
Yeah.
Let's all chip in next time and let's get a table.
Yeah.
And then see what that brings.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's really where the whole table culture started really evolving from the West End. And then it started to take precedent in places like Marbella. And then eventually started doing the same in Ibiza.
Yeah.
You know, and when you see the culture now in Ibiza, it's really changed and it's now become quite VIP, quite table-led orientated, you know, so yeah.
Because the revenue goes up, the service is even better, it's no queuing.
No.
So you're like, oh, I might as well get a table, how much everyone got, and let's chip in, let's go. And then sometimes you get it, it's like, well, how big's the show? I want to make a big show.
100%.
And especially if you're going to a party like yours, I want the biggest show possible, especially when your intro's coming in.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this intro.
Okay.
I've heard it many times over the years, but I know, I don't see you ever walk in the venue, but I know when you're about to play. Colin Francis, please tell us about that. How did you come out with that intro and like, how did it make such a big impact in industry as well?
Well, the funny thing was that the intro was only brought about because the fact that I didn't have a host. I'd never used to get on the mic. And especially when you was doing the West End scene, they never really had people on the microphone. You know, it wasn't really the done thing. So where there's like maybe 3-4 DJs in a night, I was like, I need something to let people know the DJ's changed and that I'm now on. And how do I differentiate myself to every other DJ which is playing? Because typically we can all play the same music. But I needed something to really make the mark to say, Colin's on now. So a good friend of mine, Mikey J. Big up Mikey. He was the producer for Kano. Who else did he produce for? At them times there, he was producing for Shiesty. He now gone on and does a lot of production and theatre shows with Blue Boy Productions, etc. But Mikey was like the guy behind the desk making the beats. But I knew Mikey from time and I knew Mikey could sing. So I was like, listen, Mikey, I've got this. It was Apple's song, Seagullizer. And I said, I've got this melody in my head and I think it can go like this. And I started sort of like saying, Colin Francis, DJ Colin. And he was like, okay. So I said, look, I sent him a voice note. I said, you think you can mimic this? But the only problem is I've got to head out to a gig in half hour. I need it ASAP, please. Please, please, please. No pressure. Next thing I know, 15 minutes later, he sent me this vocal layered, like harmonized, put it on the beat, give me the acapella, everything. And I was just blown away. And I was like, wow, I think this is something special. That night I went out, I played it. It was just like, it felt so good because it's when the bongo drums come in.
Starts with the drums.
Once the drums, it's almost like a calling. It's like, you know, once the drums, once you hear the drums, it's like, right, okay, put the drinks down, like come out, you know, come out from the bar, wherever you are, come out. It's time to get to the dance floor. Like, let's go. And that's where it became synonymous with, you know, as soon as you hear the drums, and then when obviously the actual intro itself drops, it was crazy. And then the funny story is that Mikey, again, he doesn't go out clubbing all the time. And then about 10 years after he'd done the dub, like I say, he's never been out to a club to see it at all. But 10 years later, he's come to Marbella with me.
Yeah.
And we was at Ocean Club.
Yeah.
And I played it there.
Yeah.
And he saw the whole of Ocean Club singing it back. And he was like, wow. Like, this is like 1,500 people, whatever the case is here.
Yeah.
This is me singing.
Yeah.
You know? And he was like, it just felt so surreal. And I was like, Mikey, this is you, bro.
Yeah.
This is you every week.
Every week.
Really, I should be giving you commission on all of my sets. I said, because, bro, the royalties that you get on this is a matter. Like, yeah, so, but we banter about it now, you know. But yeah, it was such a great feeling when it started really picking up, and it didn't matter where I was going. Everywhere I went, people started feeding into it and hearing it and singing it back. And the only way I can describe how it feels is that, you see when a boxer's got his ring walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And before he gets into the ring to start doing what he's got to do, he's got his ring walk music to get him in that zone. Soon as that intro goes, as soon as I press play and I start hearing the drums, whether I feel any kind of nerves, whether I'm a little bit anticipating what's this going to be, as soon as I hear that, it's like a red mist.
Colin Francis is switched on.
Yeah, I'm in the zone then.
Yeah.
I'm in the zone.
Now, I've seen you do it.
Yeah, I'm in the zone.
I've seen it. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, from that point, I'm just locked in. Yeah.
Oh, man. Bloody, because I'm so used to seeing everyone just scream it, and everyone just stops their drinks. Yeah. And everyone just goes up, Colin's on, because everyone hears them drums and they go in the middle. I'm like, you know what, this guy's nailed it.
Right, yeah.
He's nailed it.
Love that.
That's like building a brand to me.
Yeah, totally.
Because like, I've met so many DJs over the years. Yeah, I'm a DJ, I'm this. I said, no, you're not a brand. There's DJs and there's a brand that's built it round himself.
Yeah, totally.
So that's why I have the right to put my name on a flight and people will follow me. If I say we're going here, I've got a crowd coming, so I can charge what I want because I'm the brand. And that's what I feel like you've done really well compared to a lot of people.
Thank you, sir.
But let's talk about Marbella.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how you went from West End to Marbella to Ibiza.
Right. Well, again, with the transition from West End to Marbella was that, and again, I give props to Scintillate. They was doing parties in the West End, and then they made the transition to Marbella. So I was one of the DJs on the rosters, and I would go over and we'll do from Thursday to Sunday, and we would do 2-3 gigs a day tonight.
Yeah.
So we'll do the pool party.
Yeah.
Then we'll do sort of like the sort of early evening, and then we'll go right through till 6 in the morning. Wow. Yeah. And then we'll get up and do it again the next day. Yeah. Like, yeah, it was full on for 4 days. Yeah. It was full on.
And then you'll break from Monday to Thursday.
Oh no, when we fly back, okay. You'll have Monday off, and then you're doing Tuesday, you're doing the gigs in London.
In London, oh right.
Yeah. So then you go back onto the London road. So it was always exciting when you got to go out to do Marbella. Yeah. So I was out there for a while doing, all the various parties. And then, as I say, then when I met up with Jermaine and Mark, then we decided that we was going to do unique parties in Marbella. Yeah. And then when we went over and first of all started with our first party, which was at Sisu. Yeah. And big up Neil. Yeah. Neil gave us a chance. He just built this brand new hotel, which was just a game changer, a real game changer. Yeah. And we started doing pool parties on a Friday. So the unique parties, pool party was just synonymous on a Friday. Yeah. And yeah, like when we done that party, we didn't really know what kind of beast it was going to become. No. But it was just incredible.
Because we heard about it in London.
Yeah.
Like everyone was saying we're going Marbella.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, Marbella. It was like, we need to save up our money, we're going Marbella, booking a table there.
Yeah.
And I think that you guys obviously Synslate were there.
Yeah.
But I feel like you guys will create more of a West End type of vibe.
Totally. And what we was trying to do at that point, we was trying to create something which was for our generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the generation was aspirational.
Yeah.
You know, so they knew that they was coming into this whole table culture.
Yeah.
And then it was replicating that in Marbella.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was such an inspiring crowd at that time because, you know, we would have, you know, the up and coming sports people like, you know, your James DeGales, who at that point wasn't, you know, world champ.
Yeah.
We had the up and coming footballers.
Yeah.
We had some of the current top Premiership footballers.
Yeah.
And so it was the crowd, which, as I say, they were almost like the influencers of that time.
Yeah.
And they were the people which people were aspiring to be.
Yeah.
You know? So when all of a sudden you say, oh, well, this one's at that party, that one's at that party, like, oh, wow.
Why am I not there?
I need to be there.
Yeah.
And then when there was, you know, again, during those times, the whole having a videographer.
Yeah. It's like, it was rare, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because even when we had them back in the days, not many people had one.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I remember we had one particular video, and I have to say, I got to big up James Courtney.
Yes. Bruv.
What a legend.
He's a wicked videographer.
Wicked videographer.
Yeah.
Wicked guy.
Yeah.
Even to this day.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of my good friends, man.
Yeah.
And we still, you know, we out with each other and still banter with each other and still making great content, you know. But James, then, if you talk about us wanting to break barriers in what we was doing, James was that in the videography.
Yeah.
And he was just so creative. And we just let him just do what he does best.
Yeah.
And
because from then he got a lot of work from it.
Well, the funny thing is, and Jay would tell you this, man.
Yeah.
My first album with Ministry of Sound.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that transition was quite smooth, but I know you probably wanted to intro that. So I'll let you intro that afterwards. But James Courtney was the person I got to make my first TV commercial.
Okay.
For the Ministry of Sound Marbella Sessions album.
And that came on after Love Island, isn't it? Advert. I saw advert after Love Island.
Right. So no, that was Marbella Sessions.
Yeah.
Was during the time with Towie.
Okay.
And that was integral with Mark at that time.
And that came on after. It came on in the break.
During the break.
Yes, that's what.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But that's a whole. That there is a whole marketing strategy behind that.
I think we have to go back. Let's rewind.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start from. All right, you guys in Marbella, you built a wicked Friday night. All right, so Sizu's booming.
Mm-hmm.
Then where did you guys go from there?
Right. Okay. So
because that next level is next level. Let's leave that. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, basically, from there, again, it's putting the pieces in the puzzle. So if we go way back, I was helping a friend of mine with the track listing for albums on Telstar, which he was putting together called Pure R&B and Pure Hip Hop. Back in the day. So I was just a young kid at uni, and you know, just finished uni, still got a passion, mad passion for music, but just I knew what was hot, what was not, etc.
Yeah.
So they would come to me and ask me to help them to put together a track list for what they would then go on to do with the record labels to put it together now and put out a mixed compilation album. But I didn't have a big enough name to carry what them albums would look like.
Yeah.
Anyway, fast forward about 10 years later.
Yeah.
One of the guys which was involved in those albums, plus, remember I said to you about Joe with the Hit Squad?
Yeah.
Who was and is my best friend to this day.
Yeah.
We put a concept together and approached few record labels, I think Sony, Ministry of Sound, Universal, Warner. We approached them all
This is whilst your brand's building up in...
in Marbella.
Yeah. Okay.
So by this time, the brand is strong. It's strong. Yeah. And my name's
out
quite
there. Yeah.
synonymous with Marbella now. So then we put a concept together of creating an album. But at the time, record labels are only really focusing on the Miami conference and Ibiza. That was the only territories what they was really thinking about.
Yeah.
And then maybe one year they kind of might have done a special on Iron Apple.
Yeah.
But then you had like the Twice as Nice albums, which were doing their thing, and that was kind of Iron Apple based. But it wasn't Iron Apple targeted, it was Twice as Nice. It was as a brand. So then I said, look, Marbella is the aspirational place. It's not got the same huge demographic as what Ibiza has, but what it's got an aspirational demographic. And it's a case where the generation which was starting to rise, they were skipping going to Falaraki, you know, your Magaloofs and Zantis, etc., and going straight from being 18, going to Marbella now.
Yeah.
That's where they was at.
Yeah.
And they wanted to go and rub shoulders with various celebrities and get a table. And
because Towie was all going to Marbella now, wasn't it?
Towie was all going to Marbella at this point. So
is that due to like you kind of knew them before they knew? Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I'm from Essex.
So,
So you know, and again, we was doing the parties in the West End, so you start knowing all the people in the scene.
Yeah.
So put this concept together and brought it to the record labels, and I already kind of knew in my head that I wanted Ministry of Sound.
Yeah.
Because for the demographic which I was aiming for, they were the people which had that demographic.
Yeah.
That young, cool.
And everyone was going to their space.
Everybody was going to actual Ministry of Sound parties as a venue. It was the trendy venue to go to. And they had like, they're still coming off the back of, you know, quite a great spell with Head Candy and all these sort of things.
Yeah.
You know, so that was the cool albums what they're looking at. So I said, you know what, let's look at doing something. You've got Ibiza sessions, you've got Miami sessions. Let's do something called Marbella sessions. So there's, maybe we could possibly take a punt on it, but not really too sure because the demographic is not great. Like it's not a huge amount of people. I said, it's not a huge amount of people, but what I'm showing you is that in the West End, you don't need to have thousands of people like you do in Ibiza. You only have to have a couple of hundred people.
Yeah.
And you're getting probably as good as, if not better, bar spend than what you do if you've got 10,000 people drinking bottles of water. You know? These guys are buying premium alcohol, etc., and they're looking to have a great time. So they said, okay, well, let's take a punt on it. So I said, okay, cool. Let's really take control of what this looks like. So when we put the packaging together, we already had drafts of what the artwork would look like. So literally, I'd done everything with the guys to basically present a package which was ready to just go. Yeah. So we put the artwork together, which was images from parties which we was obviously doing in Ibiza. I'm sorry, in Marbella. So again, it makes it relatable for the consumer. Yeah. When they can see, oh, this is an actual real life picture. This is actually us in Marbella. Yeah. I used James Courtney to put the TV commercial together. So all these clips. So again, it's relatable. It's real. Yeah. It's that is actually the parties, what's going on in Marbella.
Use your social circles to help you build to the next thing. Yeah.
And it really reinforced to me at that point, when you understand about just business in general, is your network is your net worth, you know, and that's really the string of what it was, you know, that was the crux of everything what we was doing was the fact that we was just utilizing everyone what we had around us.
Yeah.
So then he done a TV commercial. We had the artwork. We also, obviously, I done all the track listing. I already done the mix, so I knew roughly what the mix was going to look like. But the thing is, what people don't realize with having compilation albums is that you can have, for an album which might have 40 tracks, you'll have to submit 80 tracks.
Yeah.
Because not all of them are going to get passed through. Not all of them are going to get cleared.
Okay.
So you then get whittled down, and you'll have your key tracks which you know have to be on that album in order for the album to sell. Yeah. So we had to go through this whole process. So then when you start whittling it down, then you see what you're left with. Then it's like, okay, how do I now make this sound?
Yeah, that's true.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So then we went through, the playlist was really, really good. And because I'm an open format DJ, it was a lot easier as well for me to choose songs, because I didn't have to just stick with one genre.
No.
I didn't have to just stick with house or garage or R&B or hip hop.
You can just switch up in time.
Because in the West End, that's what it was like.
That's the set.
It was a melting pot.
Yeah.
You know, nobody would go to a West End club and expect just to hear one genre of music. You know, you had your days and your nights where if you wanted to just go to a garage rave, you go to a garage rave. When you go to a drum and bass rave, you go to a drum and bass rave. When you go to hip hop night, you go to hip hop night. But in West End, it was a melting pot.
Yeah.
Everybody listened to even international music was being played.
Yeah.
So when I compiled the albums, it was really just a case of encompassing all of that influence and putting it into one album.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, the label sort of saying, you know, like, is it a good idea to kind of cross genres like this?
Yeah.
And I was like,
and that's the West End.
Yeah, like, you know, this represents what it is, what's going on right now. Especially in West End in Marbella.
Yeah.
So then we started thinking about how we're going to actually do the marketing strategy of it. And again, that was very key as to, you know, it's all well and good having a great idea and everything else, but ultimately, all ministry want to know is, how many units are we going to sell?
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely spot on. You know, I was like, okay, in order for us to make that happen, again, I've got to look at the resources, what I've got around me. And I knew that in terms of followings, I had a lot of friends which had big followings on, which was then Twitter.
Yeah. Was Facebook around?
Yeah, Facebook was around, but
Twitter was
the thing which people just had on their phones right there, and
all that.
And just they was on their phones. So, well, obviously, I knew, we'd been doing loads of stuff before with Mark, and I know all the rest of the crew, everything else. We said for the album, Towie's Just Breaking, even though it's, you guys don't yet know what the impact of that program is going to have. I can already tell you. Because I know the people what's involved, and I know the scene. That program is going to go crazy.
Go up.
So we managed to get a TV slot in the first commercial break. But the first commercial break was also the time when I said to the rest of the cast, can you please put this link and go buy Marbella Sessions with the link to click on your phone to order the album.
On Twitter. To all the cast on Towie.
All the cast. So obviously, as soon as people go into the TV commercial, the first thing what they want to do is go on their phone and see what these guys.
Yeah.
So I utilized that along with other,
sharing.
Of my friends, which kindly shared it, and the support which I got was phenomenal. And I'm forever grateful for what,
everyone helped you out. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's good to be supported as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big believer in, you give out what you want to receive.
Yep.
And anybody would tell you in this industry, I'm always supportive to all of my peers. And wherever I can help anybody, I would do so.
Yeah.
So they know what I'm like. I'm not a person which I'd very rarely ask.
Yeah.
So I would always be that person which would do more for others than ask from others.
Yeah.
So when I asked,
it's like wow, he's actually, I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah.
It's no problem. It wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
So we done this, and it was just wow.
Yeah.
And it was actually that first weekend we was up against Disclosure, who was huge at the time.
Yeah.
Daft Punk, who had the track Get Lucky with Pharrell
Williams,
and that album again was doing a madness.
Yeah.
And they were the two albums which were coming out on the same week when we was coming out. Up against it. Like, these guys are selling numbers. And then we went out that weekend.
Yeah.
And bro, we broke the record for the most digital downloads that Ministry of Sound has ever seen at that time.
Oh my God.
We smashed it. And I can't remember what happened in terms of so that weekend we must have done over, I don't know, maybe 25,000 sales in just that weekend alone.
Wow.
That's
a lot.
It's a lot of units.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then later on in that week, you then start getting your midweeks, like how they do it then. You get your midweeks like Wednesday, see where you're sitting at. So we was like sitting around sort of like 6th position in the charts at the time.
Bro.
Like, midweeks.
Yeah.
So I knew there's more push for us to have to do.
Yeah.
For the, to see how we end up the following weekend.
Yeah.
I had to fly out to Miami. I think it was possibly on the Friday or something like that. I was launching a drink for Jay-Z.
Nice.
Yeah. So
what drink was it?
Douce.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Old school. Yeah. It's one of his first actual drinks which he's done.
Oh
like
wow.
A cognac. So I was going and doing a launch for Jay-Z's Douce. So I was in Miami at the time.
So your circle's now expanded.
Yeah.
Even bigger now.
It's been it's been increasing as it goes. Like I'm doing various parties for various American artists as well as the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Pharrell.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So so then I'm in Miami, and the time difference, I remember waking up, just been out in Club Live, like waking up and my phone's just popping off, like popping off. I was thinking, what? And I looked in about the first 10 messages, just like, congratulations. And I was like, what? And it was like, you're number one.
Oh, mate.
And I checked, like, I went on to iTunes and I saw, and I just remember seeing the artwork.
Yeah.
And the artwork being, because you see the fun work of the artwork.
Yeah.
And you see as it's gradually going, and then I saw the artwork as at number one.
Yeah.
And I think underneath it was possibly like Daft Punk and then Disclosure. And
achievement there, man.
It was just like, wow. It was just such a surreal moment.
Oh, mate, well done.
And yeah, that was really the start of everything.
Start of everything, yeah.
Then it just went crazy.
Yeah.
Like, crazy.
And then Ibiza came.
Ibiza came after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then Dubai came as well after that.
Yeah.
And again, these sort of, Dubai was almost like a follow-on from Marbella. Because again, everybody which finished the season in Marbella
went to there
would
September, onwards.
Migrate over to Dubai to follow the sun and have their parties over there. And it was of a similar kind of clientele and kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Where it's table culture again.
Yeah.
And so, so like it was then working the same UK audience.
Yeah.
What was then traveling over to Dubai and doing it all over again. And it was just, and still is, an incredible ride. I just come back from Dubai just a couple of months back.
Yeah.
And again, it was just incredible to see, because now the generation which is there now, it's funny because you look back and you say, we was integral with what that looked like at the start of it. Yeah. Now, it's like the norm, really.
Yeah. Because the table culture wasn't there yet.
Wasn't.
And then, so in a way, it kind of followed you around.
Oh, totally.
And then when it's there, it's like, now everyone thinks, we're in tables. And then it didn't start.
No, it didn't start from here.
That. Yeah, that's
totally.
Right.
And it's really seen as the norm, but it's not.
No.
I mean, just last bank holiday just gone.
Yeah.
In Marbella, May bank holiday, at Neo nightclub.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Neo pool party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big up J Funk and Smeds.
Yeah.
They put on this incredible party called the Black Party, which is like, basically it's at the pool club, but it's in the evening time.
Yeah. Similar to what they do in Vegas.
Similar to what they do in Vegas.
Yeah.
And everybody wears black.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing was incredible. There's about 400 people outside trying to get in when the venue's already absolutely ram-packed.
Oh my gosh.
And people wanting to pay extraordinary numbers to get in, 400 euros just to get in to the venue.
Doesn't even include a table.
It's not a table. That's not a drink. Like, that's just to be in the party. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that's the kind of demand what it's creating.
Yeah.
And, it's just, it's so, like, listen, some people might say, well, it's a little bit over the top, this or whatever, but we're in a generation now where people want to live bigger. They want to have bigger dreams, bigger aspirations, and they want to achieve more. Yeah. And I always feel that you've got to push yourself so that you're out of your comfort zone sometimes in order to be able to grow. Yeah. Because if you want to stay in that comfort zone, you're only going to achieve nominal things. Yeah. But if you want to achieve extraordinary things, you've got to come out of your comfort zone. Yeah. You've got to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree on that. Because realistically, they're paying 400 euros for the atmosphere.
Totally.
And the fact is, they don't know, they know the guy that set it up, but they don't know what he done to get there.
Hard work.
Hard work.
And that's another thing which is so integral for this generation coming through now, is that I think a lot of the time, and that's why I think that things like this podcast is so relevant. Yeah. Because social media shows you a lot of what the front of the shop is. Yeah. They don't show you what's going on in the back room. They don't show you all the hard work, what has to get in. Who's bringing in the stock? Yeah. Who's dealing with the customers? Yeah. Who's dealing with the suppliers? Who's dealing with making sure that the shop is laid out in a certain way? Yeah. Who's doing all these things? Yeah. You just look outside and you see this shiny, front and whatever, and you think that that's what it is. Or the owner's nice car outside and you think, oh, wow, I got... Yeah. But it's all hard work.
Hard work, yeah.
And not only that, it's time.
Oh, gosh.
It takes a lot of time and years. And I feel that, it's something which, with social media as it is, it's called things like Instagram for a reason. Yeah. It's instant gratification, which these people want. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, No, it doesn't work like that. You need to take your time and work hard in order to get the rewards, because you can't just think, I'm going to see that and emulate that. Your relationships, what you build with people, again, I'd always swear by, be good to people.
Yeah.
Be very good to people and be as honest as you can, because the reality is we're in this industry and this industry is full of sharks.
Yeah.
And the sharks are easy to see.
Yeah.
It's the piranhas what is not so easy to see. The smaller ones, which are just as dangerous, but they'll do you just as much damage.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And there's a lot of those. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure you've probably had it. I've definitely had it where you can give a lot of your time and effort to a lot of people for the goodness of your heart. Yeah. And sometimes it'll come back and bite you in your ass.
Mate, bite you big time.
Yeah.
And the fact is that people should warn you about these people. Oh. And no one does it.
No one does.
They let you go, oh yeah, don't worry, you got this. You're like, you know about this person, tell me about him.
Tell me. Give me the heads up.
Yeah.
What that looks like.
Yeah.
I'm not saying for you to, you know, badmouth anyone or whatever, but just be aware.
Yeah.
And just have the heads up, because one thing I think that we should do in we're the position where we're in now.
Yeah.
Is to help guide these people to tell them, don't take that road, because I'll be honest, you go down that road, it might look all good, but you're going to get there and it's a dead end at the end of it. And then you're going to have to come all the way back to go again.
Yeah.
This other road might not look as scenic.
Yeah.
And might not be as pretty.
Yeah.
And the terrain might not be as smooth.
Yeah.
But you're going to get to your destination.
That's right.
Safer.
I agree on that one.
And it might take you another extra hour on the clock.
Yeah.
But it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it's integral that we do have these conversations to tell people that, you know, you have to be patient in this game, and you have to be very, very resilient as well, because you will get a lot of knockbacks.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot of no's. You'll get a lot of people that when you are flying, they're going to want to come and jump on what you're doing.
Come out of woodwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And always be very vigilant and listen to the people what know you and were there with you from the get-go, because they'll be the ones to quickly say to you,
calm it down, bro.
Yeah. Don't get lost. Don't get carried away with yourself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've always kept those sort of people around me. So I always keep my feet firmly to the ground. I mean, as much as you sit here and you're banter, this black attire has been the same black attire that I've had from the get-go. And people will banter it and whatever it is. But real talk, I keep everything real simple.
I agree.
That's the key to it for me, you know?
But like, what would you say, like, so for example, all these upcoming DJs and these producers as well, obviously have seen your story and everything. What kind of advice would you give them, especially growing up in an industry very social media based, as we didn't have social media that heavy. We only had Twitter, Facebook and BB Pin. Like, what would you say, like, what things to watch out for?
I think the things which really stick out for me is that consistency is key. Don't think that having one hit is gonna just change everything for you. You know, when I had the first #1 album, I knew that the pressure was on my neck then to produce again. And then when that produced again, I knew the pressure was on my neck to produce again. And thank God, I had 9 #1 albums consecutively. And it's that what then creates a legacy for you to be able to say, right, okay, this guy is bona fide in this. And whether it's a generation what know or don't know, you respect it. Because regardless of anything, if I look back and I look at someone like a Muhammad Ali, or I look at someone like a Floyd Patterson, or I look at somebody like, you know, a Mike Tyson. One thing's for sure, their record speaks for itself.
That's right.
And my record speaks for itself. You go and show me somebody else what has done what I've done, and I'll tip my hat off to them. But until that point, be respectful, be humble.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm always respectful and humble to those who've done it before me.
Yeah.
So, you know, my advice with these young'uns is almost get that mentor, get that person which has been there before you. You do what they've done, but do it in your own way, with your own style. Have your own, create your own lane if it needs to be.
Yeah.
There's always a blueprint. Marketing will always be the blueprint.
Yeah.
I'll always as well say, don't take for granted the fact, read.
Yeah.
I'm a big reader.
Yeah.
Huge reader. Like, when it comes to understanding not only business, but also understanding people, behaviors, and what that is, it's key.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the money is just a trade-off, but you're doing business with people. I work with people which I get a vibe from. That's first and foremost. You know, you can offer me the most amount of money, but if I ain't vibing with you,
what's the point?
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
You know? So always make sure that you're revising, just like how you would have done when you was at school for an exam.
Yeah.
Be on your game.
Yeah.
Learn about how to run marketing.
Yeah.
Run your accounts. Have a projection as to, okay, well, if this song does what I expect it to do, what's then the next single? What's the single after that?
Yeah.
Then where are we looking to spread it to? Who can we maybe collaborate with to then make it even bigger and bring it to a whole different audience? And again, it's those sort of conversations that I have with the younger generation.
Yeah.
You know?
And also learning the art. Because I feel like, all right, everyone, after having a club and booking many DJs, I feel like they've lost it with the art of mixing, reading the crowd, and being confident to look up. And like, some of them don't analyze anything nowadays. And that's why I'm just like, you say I'm a big boy DJ, I got 80K followers on TikTok. I say, yeah, but them followers are not going to come here. They like you because you're good looking.
Yeah.
They don't actually like your DJ.
Yeah.
And I think that coming across quite a lot nowadays. And sometimes, like, people need to understand it's an art. I'd rather book the art and put your name on the flyer, even if you're not big. I'd rather everyone having a good time than just like, I don't know, like you must.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you see it.
Yeah.
You see it quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know, listen, I always respect what another DJ's perspective on the art form is. And I understand that there is going to be a transition as to what that looks like and how it is. And, you know, you've got a generation of DJs now which have never even seen a pair of decks in their life, like turntables, so to speak. Never ever seen them.
No.
Billion% never seen a tape deck.
Yeah.
You know, possibly never even seen what a CD looks like.
No, definitely not.
And that's real talk.
That's real talk, yeah.
You know, so now it's understanding that just like with anything with regards to any other industry, you'd always go back and you'd look at those what done it beforehand. So if you're a serious DJ, go back and do your research on where the art form of DJing came from. Don't also just stay in your own genre. Look outside your genre and think, what is that DJ doing? What's playing maybe techno or playing maybe bashment or playing drum and bass or playing hip hop? And say, what are they doing? What I can then bring into what I'm doing and make it work. What's the heights? What's the high points? What's the key things what I'm seeing that person do to get their crowd lifted? I can be able to use that and put it into my formula. And that's something which I feel a lot of DJs, they don't do enough of that.
Yeah.
But there's some new DJs which are coming through, which are really kind of, you know, exciting for me. And I see, you know, there's big prospects for them, you know, and they do, again, learn from the older generation. And class is permanent, man. You know, I look at these DJs and there's something I can always spot real quickly as to who are going to be the DJs who's going to have longevity from just the way they conduct themselves. The way, if you're a footballer, you can't play football just looking at your feet and looking at the ball.
You've got to be confident.
And you've got to look up.
Yeah.
Be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your spacing, everything, your time. And that's what DJs need to do.
Yeah.
Don't be concentrating and looking at the decks and looking at the computer screen.
Yeah.
Look up.
Yeah.
Look at that person who's looking at you going, yeah. Or look at that person who's looking at you going,
what is this?
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, like be aware of what you're what you're doing.
What you're playing to.
What you're playing to.
Yeah.
You know, read the crowd, man. You know, and if you just drop one song, which is they're absolutely having it, think, okay, what's the next song? What's going to follow on from that? Then see that once they're going on a certain thing, you also got to be mindful, energy-wise.
Yeah.
If I say to you now, let's go and do, imagine DJing-wise, and I say to you, let's go and do a training class.
Yeah.
And I want you to go and do 10 sprints.
Yeah.
And you come back, you do this 10 sprints. I say, I want you to do another 10 sprints.
Yeah.
And then another 10 sprints. You'd be looking at me like, bro. So as a DJ set, I might give you 10 sprints, but after that, I just want you to walk around the track twice, just casually, just casually just walk around.
Yeah.
And as a DJ, that's what I'm trying to do with my crowd, is that I can take them, but I have to level them out. Otherwise, they're going to get too tired, and it doesn't matter what you're going to play. I just ain't got the energy to do it.
Because the atmosphere is controlled by you.
Of course it is. You've got to control the tempo of the night.
Yeah.
You've got to control the energy of the night.
Because you can't just keep them going like this.
No.
Because they're going to fade.
They're going to fade real quick. And then, like, it's just not realistic to keep them like that, you know? So it's like, read it and just say, okay, you can still be able to play songs which create an atmosphere and create a vibe, but without trying to take them through the roof.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like interval training. That's what it's like.
But what would you say, obviously, from the Towie, Marbella, Ibiza, I remember there was a time when I think it was going around that you were on Love Island. And obviously it was a time...
Not as a contestant.
Not a contestant. But it was like a time when it was like Love Island was big at the time.
Yeah,
it was building up. And then I remember watching it and I see, everyone telling me Colin Francis on Love Island playing on his decks. And I said, what? Wait, he's playing his track. Oh, he's on Love Island. I was like, yeah. Tell me about that. How did you...
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what had happened with that was that the precedent which we set with doing the TV commercials in Towie was then the big program which was the place to break your album.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the record companies followed suit after that.
Yeah.
And then they all wanted to go and do the same, follow the same strategy.
Yeah.
But to be fair, we set the trend on what that was. And I'm just being real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that year of the 2013, Ministry actually won an award for their marketing strategy.
For that, okay.
For that album. Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
So then the next big wave was Love Island. So then it was, again, a mastermind strategy. And I have to big up Naz on this as well.
Yeah.
She was the boss at Ministry at the time, and it was her idea along with the team to say, look, let's fly Colin out to Love Island.
Yeah.
And let's do like a party for the house contestants and let Colin host the party and we promote the album at the same time.
Oh.
Absolute genius move.
Yeah.
Like genius move.
Yeah.
I think you then had like some Craig David doing it as well afterwards.
Craig David's been on it a few times.
Yeah.
There've been loads of UK artists on it since then.
Yeah, for sure.
But you have to remember, it started from...
Totally, yeah. Totally. So it was, and I think that year was the year when Kem won.
Yeah.
Kem was on it.
Yeah.
And again, I knew Kem from back at home in Essex.
Yeah.
So when I saw him, and when we saw each other, it was such a great feeling because he was like, Colin. I'm like, yeah. He said, oh, we was getting told that, you know, we're going to have a party and it's going to be Ministry of Sound. And he goes, in my head, I was thinking, if this ministry can only be one person, it's got to be Colin. But I wasn't too sure because obviously they kept it a secret to everybody. So then when he came out,
I was like,
oh man, it was great. And don't forget, these guys are locked off from everything. So
they got no social.
They got no social. They don't know what the impact of the show is.
Okay.
And I was given a strict quota that was like, listen, you can speak to them, but do not tell them anything what's going on the outside world, how they're perceived or nothing.
Oh God.
And I remember like getting asked, you know, so what's it like? I'm like, bro, listen.
I'm gonna get in trouble, bro.
Just let me play my songs.
And so from Towie to now being on Love Island.
Yeah.
It's like that promotion's insane.
No, it's incredible. Like it just took things to another level.
Yeah.
Because you got to think that, you know, the marketing budget, what goes into these things is phenomenal.
Massive.
Like, and the audience, what you're being exposed to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm forever grateful to the likes of Ministry and Sony for what they've done for my career at that time.
Yeah.
You know, because like I say, you can't really put a value on what that exposure does for you.
No.
But then the key thing is once you get that exposure, what you do with it afterwards.
Yeah. And where do you go from there?
Where'd you go from there? Yeah.
And that's what some people try to figure out. Like, what would you say from there? Where did you go from with your, did you launch, obviously you launched the music and you had that going.
Yeah.
But with your DJ career, did that expand you even more?
It expanded me even more, gave me a lot more opportunities in terms of moving more into the corporate world as well.
Yeah.
Which again was a new territory for me in that sense. And it widened my social groups.
Yeah.
Dramatically.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and yeah, just like from the albums, it allowed me to do stuff with record label, to work with certain artists, to do certain parties, to be in a room with certain people.
Yeah.
And then really, once you then are in these rooms, you can always hold your own because I'm doing what I'm doing in my industry. I'm top of my game in what I do. Real talk. That's it. So, you know, when you're then rubbing shoulders with other people which are top of their game, then that's when you really start just creating a whole, and you're in a whole new level, and you know, it's amazing, man.
So what we got, like a fire round. We ask you a bunch of questions. It's quick.
Somebody just turned the heating up.
It's not that bad, so I'm just going to go through it with you.
Okay.
All right, so it's called Quick Fire Round. So who was the biggest celebrity that you partied with? You had loads, mate.
I have loads. I think Pharrell's got to be up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Pharrell.
Over Drake?
Oh, yeah, Drake as well.
Yeah. Drake, yeah.
The reason why I say Pharrell is because I absolutely love Pharrell, man. I love everything what that guy stands for.
Yeah.
Everything what he's done. And Chad as Neptunes.
Yeah.
Shay as NERD, you know, all the stuff what he's done and gone on to do with Nego as well.
Yeah.
I just love everything what he's done, man. So yeah, Pharrell for me.
Okay. Who has been the drunkest celeb you met?
Oh, There's been a few of those, and I will not reveal who they are, but
cool.
Yeah.
What was the biggest event that you ever played at?
50 Cent, I would say. O2.
Wow.
Yeah. And I got big up my brother.
Yeah.
Tony, Big T.
Yeah.
My brother, man, from day one. He put me on and still puts me on to this day, man.
That's wicked.
Sending me music every single week. He's one of my best friends, not only in the industry, but more importantly, outside of it.
Yeah, you need that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, yeah, man.
Who was the biggest pain in your backside, celeb-wise?
Again.
Avoid.
I won't say that one. Yeah.
Alive or dead, who would you wished to have come to your event?
Well, one of them actually did, and that was Stevie Wonder.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was one of the biggest compliments ever, having his daughter come up to the decks and saying to me that, but I didn't know it was his daughter at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. This girl just came up and said, "Oh, my dad's here and he absolutely loves what you're doing."
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. Thinking,
yes.
Who's your dad?
Yeah.
And then she pointed over and bro, it was Stevie Wonder.
Oh, wow.
But the reason why it really resonated with me, not only because he's one of my all-time favorite artists and a legend, obviously this man sees through his ears.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And for his ears as his main sensory to trigger him
to listen to your art
and to compliment what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest compliments that I could ever have.
That's right.
So big up Stevie Wonder.
All right. So what would you say, like, would you do anything different?
I always believe that God has a plan, and whatever you go through is for a reason. And even in the hard times and things where you think, I wish I'd made this choice, I wish I'd made that choice, is that he's already written the plan for you. And there's a reason why you've endured certain things to prepare you for the next step that you're about to embark. So I'd like to say I don't have any regrets where that's concerned.
That's good, man. I'd like to say thank you, Colin. Been a great speaking to you.
It's been such a pleasure, Jules.
And thank you again for coming.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me.
Likewise, man.
Cheers.
My man.
My man.